we are at third year. So for third year, we have pharmacology, pathophysiology, medical Chinese, regional anatomy, medical statistics, and epidemiology. So the first thing that we're starting with is pharmacology. So for this, I have the textbook. It's called Pharmacology Made Incredibly Easy, and I highly suggest this textbook. Can be found free online, and it is just a great resource, especially because pharmacology is so much drugs, so much you have to know the pharmacokinetics, you have to know the pharmacodynamics of each type of drug too. So it's very important that you understand everything holistically. When I was studying pharmacology, I use all these resources plus Lecturio, but these are the free ones. So Pharmacology Made Incredibly Easy. The website that I suggest is pharmacology2000.com. That will also be linked in the description below. And this is a website that has it has chapters. So like, for example, say you're looking at your textbook and you'd see antidiuretics or antihypertensive, antibiotics, all of those. So looking at your textbook, you'd see that you go on the website and you'd see the same, you probably not the same numbers, but chapters indicating these, and it would have the name antidiuretics, all of them. So all of them will be listed there, and you can just do the test, the little practice. It's called practice questions and exams, so you can do them, and it's just like little quizzes and stuff, but these are like really deep questions. Like I'm telling you, you have to think. It's not drag A. It's not like that. Like you really have to think about what it is that it's asking you. So I'd highly suggest that after you're done reading a chapter or after you're done watching a video, just so that you know that this information is going into my long-term memory. So yeah, so those were the two free resources that I used in studying for pharmacology.
Okay, that's really good. For pharmacology, to be honest, there are many resources out there, right? But for me, I remember during my time, of course, that's a few years ago now, I had to stick to the
You sound like an old man. No,
I'm 2 years ahead. I'm 2 years ahead. In my time, yes, it's still my time. Back then, it was a little different from now, because now I would recommend something different from what I was using. I used the textbook the school offered to us, right? Because at that time it did what it had to do. But nowadays I realize that I could have also used other books which would make it a little easier to understand the information. One, for example, would be the Kaplan. Again, the Kaplan USMLE Step 1 Pharmacology. I really love the way how they summarize it perfectly. They put at the top the mechanism of action with the drug. They will also put the indications, so the uses, they'll definitely be putting the major contraindications and also if there's a side effect of this drug there. And I really love also that what they do, they'll put a little note in the side to mention if there is any drug interaction and if there is a need for you to know how to counteract a toxicity for this drug. So if there is a particular toxicity, because many drugs, they'll have nephrotoxicity or hepatotoxicity, sometimes even ototoxicity, so you have to know how to counteract that.
And you cannot link some drugs together.
Right, that's the interaction part of it. You cannot take them in the same dose, but at the same time, at least for a patient. So you have to know these things, and I really love how the Kaplan book, they will specify these things. And going on YouTube as well, I realized that I can also use Medicosis Professionalis for pharmacology, and you can get good information from that website. Channel.
So I love that he mentioned that pharmacology made in Pharmacology 2000 is the website, but Pharmacology Made Incredibly Easy has all of that plus mnemonics. So whatever it is that you fancy, so I would suggest you download both books and compare them and see what works for you. It has mnemonics and it has little pictures, cute cartoons. So I really like those things. I remember them. You can download both books and make sure that you just test run it for a little period of time and see what works for you, because it's not about the resource, it's what works for you. Yeah,
that's very important.
So pathophysiology. So pathophysiology, a really good textbook that I use was Port's Pathophysiology in the 9th edition. It had like a lot of information. However, like lecture is not something that you can really find as a subject in itself.
Yeah, they don't do that in the Western world, like
not as
mostly
much
in Europe and in Asia, like where we are now.
Right. So it was a bit hard for me to find resources on pathophysiology. However, Ninja Nerd was like really good. He basically had different topics. He didn't have like a pathophysiology playlist, but he had different topics that were a bit challenging.
They involved similar content.
Right.
Yeah. And very interestingly too, like we know that pathophysiology, it's like a compilation of both the physiologic state and the pathologic state, and knowing how the process took place to get into both sides of the situation. So if you don't necessarily have a pathophysiology book, you don't have to worry yourself. Going on YouTube and just finding the topic of the content that you're looking for and just watching a video on it, more than likely they're going to explain the pathophysiology. Even though they won't say pathophysiology as a topic, you realize that the content that you need to know is really the pathophysiology, right? Just that they don't have it as a category in medicine for most of the Western universities, but it is there for some.
For sure. So, do you have any other subject that you'd like to talk about?
For what we did in third year, well, the basic medical courses are basically completed here. For the first semester, the main two were, of course, pharmacology and pathophysiology. We also did regional anatomy, but we already mentioned those from the previous topic in anatomy.
Right. So another thing is intro to surgery that we do. So since we are gonna go more into surgery into fourth year, let's just jump right into fourth year. So in fourth year, we learn medical ethics, radiology, medical Chinese medicine, internal medicine, surgery, neurology, psychiatry, stomatology, ophthalmology, and forensics. So let's start off with surgery, since surgery is what I'm more familiar with, and then I'll leave the experts to the rest. So surgery, for me, what I used for surgery was mostly Ninja Nerd. I love his videos because like they're explaining everything and he builds on his information. So for example, blood pressure is equal to cardiac output times total peripheral resistance. So basically he would take that little equation that you would already have learned from physiology and remind you of it, because sometimes the brain kind of dulling out, so he reminds you of it. And after that, like every single time there is a hypertensive state or anything that the heart is doing, he shows you how this why is it that the heart is behaving this way and how this equation applies to that condition or that situation. So it definitely it's like a building block for me, so I always remember stuff when it's presented like that. So I really love that. And burns now, there's this nurse on YouTube called that I recently found out about from a good friend. She's called Registered Nurse RN, and she goes through different topics too. Registered Nurse RN. For surgery of course is probably one of the most intriguing part. This is very intriguing, it's very enticing as a course in itself. And many persons, because of this relationship with surgery, they might see themselves becoming a surgeon in some way in the future. Of course, this does not apply to every medical student, but I'm just saying it's so fascinating that even if you're not even going to become a surgeon, you might also still want to understand it and just get intrigued by just the content and how you approach the situation. So what I truly loved about surgery, well, in our medical school, for the first thing, they do not separate the different specialty in surgery. What they do, they'll give you a course outline. Even though you will have the different courses being taught on different days, they will give you one examination. So everything is just surgery under that topic.
surgery, and that's the course examination. So you will have neurosurgery, you'll have cardiothoracic surgery, you'll have the general surgery, you'll have the neurological situations with the neurosurgery. But when you have like urinary surgery and you have orthopedic surgery, all of that will be taught separately. Yes, but when it is the exam, you're going to just get one paper. So in that case, you know you're gonna have to study the content separately, but then you're gonna have to put all of them together for one paper. That doesn't mean that all the information will be coming on the exam, because I remember for my examination, they only gave us only from general surgery. Honestly, just general surgery questions, and I was really shocked because I studied for everything. So when you're going through your processing and examination preparation, do not limit yourself in any way, but I'm just letting you know that if you are a person who might not want to cover everything, you don't have to cover everything. Cover the major topics that you know that might come on the examination. And it's also very important in surgery to remember the techniques for your hand washing, because that is something that they will test you on. And because it's so basic and they expect you to know it, they will basically think that you know it even if you don't. And you will be asked or tested about it, and you will really need to know. So remember your 7 techniques for your hand washing, and know how to approach a medical emergency situation, a surgical situation, from the pre-operative to the post-operative. So the whole peri-operative procedures, you have to know them, and they will put some level of the anesthesiology in surgery as well, because anesthesiologists, they work closely with the surgeons, so they will also have some of that inside of the content. But in terms of the course, I would recommend YouTube videos for this course.
5th year, yes, and you were talking about
Supers.
yes.
Okay, so in 5th year, we have many courses that we consider to be essential. ENT, ophthalmology, we did stomatology, infectious diseases, we also did food and nutrition and diseases, we did pediatrics, we also did dermatovenerology and emergency med. But what I will be focusing on for 5th year would be obstetrics and gynecology and emergency med. Those 2 courses are very important, especially obstetrics and gynecology, where we have to really understand and be able to empathize with our patient at the same time, because many times when a patient comes to you, if you're so inclined to be a part of that specialty, you're going to really need to show some compassion, because this patient, most times female, they will probably be going through some infertility problems, or they're going through some difficulty which has to do with their reproduction, and those things can be very sensitive. So in order to be very good at this type of work, you're going to have that level of compassion inside of you inherently. And in terms of the content for this, I use YouTube videos a lot to really learn the content. Also remember that I've had access to like the Step 2 USMLE books from Kaplan for obstetrics and gynecology. It was really good. I also use the Step from the school which we were given. You might not have access to it, but definitely the Kaplan will be useful, and also YouTube videos. For emergency med, there is a manual that is there, an emergency med manual that you can find online. I will let the Nisi put that in the description so you can find it. I believe it's also in the Google Drive for the AHNU students, so you can use these resources to really help you. And in emergency med, it's going to be really essential to have those practical classes, going into the hospital and seeing what they do in an emergency situation, what it is like to be in the ICU and caring for a patient in the ICU. So all of these clinical courses, some level of interaction with patient and getting to know what it is truly like in the clinical setting will be important. So if you can get that experience, it will be a plus for you.
Right.
And for that's basically it for 5th year. For the last course in 5th year that I would mention, pediatrics, also very important. And as we know, especially if you're in Jamaica, it's one of the foundation criteria for your medical studies, for your clinical experience. Even in internship, there is a whole rotation for pediatrics. You're going to need to know how to offer childcare, and very good, efficient and protective childcare for a child, and it's something that is useful for you to know as well. So for the resources, I definitely would recommend you using your YouTube videos, going online, watching osmosis videos, watching videos from also medicos professionals, also using the lecturer if they have videos like those for your clinical use. Very important. And USMLE Kaplan books, they are very good for your clinical studies. This would be step 2 books, of course. So you know the basic medicine for step 1, the clinical medicine is the step 2 books. You're going to need to have that for your arsenal. Ensure that you're fully loaded with your USMLE books if you're going to especially be using them and you're planning to go into the US system. Or even if you're not, it's a really good knowledge base to have.
Thank you. Yes, guys. So I agree with all those pointers that Orion made, and you might have realized I'm a bit quiet. It's because I'm not yet reached that level of life, but soon enough, yes. Orion has finished his 5th year. He's free now, officially, yeah. So they will be starting internship soon, which is the year that they'll spend entirely in the hospital. And I'm sure, I cannot wait. Hopefully he has time to really just let us know, what goes on in the hospital here in China, So hopefully he has time to do a video with me when he reaches that level of his education. Yes. So I'm glad that you guys are learning like the different things that you can use your resources and everything. If you have questions for any subject that we might not have mentioned, please leave it in the description below. You can contact me on Instagram, you can message, you can email me. Just be interactive. I will definitely respond to every single question that you have. Even if it's a question about the school, whatever your question is, I guarantee you it will be answered. So don't be afraid to comment, don't be afraid to ask. We will definitely answer your questions.
Right. And lastly, the things I wanted to add were some tips for you students. So if you are a medical student and you feel like there are so many resources out there, how do I know which one is right for me? You first will probably have to test the water with some of them. If you know you're a person who you learn better from a textbook, you get your textbook. And if you don't have a physical textbook, what I recommend that you do, even though it might be a little bit costly, is to print chapter by chapter what you will need from a PDF book that you might have access to. And then you can use that to read from when you write your little notes, because it will be a little difficult for you to just be reading from a screen all the time if that's a problem for you. And if it's also a problem for you to print and you might not have that access, writing your notes in your notebook also helps. Not very time efficient obviously, but it will also help you. And if you're going to have any problems with retaining information, writing it might help in understanding and better retaining. So that's a recommendation I have for you. And also, it's not one size fits all. So if you have any other method that we have not mentioned here, feel free to mention them in the comments as well, so students can also get access to these, because we are all here to try and help each other
and learn.
And we will also be learning from you guys, so don't be afraid to share and comment, and also get interactive with us. Lastly, I also wanted to mention that if you also are really interested in learning, try to get access to persons on social media who are already doctors. If you don't have a doctor in your family or a friendship circle, try to get access to someone who is already in the field doing it, and especially if it's a specialty you like, try to source someone. And we have social media now, so it's not that difficult. You try to make those little networking.
Don't be afraid, especially if it's something regarding school or like your future, and like you see somebody, they're already there. Don't be afraid to message them. If they haven't responded back to you, it's okay. Like move on, somebody else, because at the end of the day, it's not like, you shouldn't really feel embarrassed about things like that, because it's your future and you really need to take it into your hands. So in a couple years time, we'll probably be like in totally different specialties, but we will definitely be answering questions. I answer questions all the time about like being a med student and being in China, and I will definitely answer questions in the future about whatever career path I have decided to choose, and I know that Orion will do the same.
Right, that's very important. So that's what I want to leave with you guys today. Just stay focused and try to constantly read new information. Try to get more information from whatever you're doing as much as possible, because the time that you will have now, you won't get back that time. So try to make the best of it, to learn as much as you can, because you will not regret it. You will probably regret not doing it than to regret doing it. Okay.
I love that. So we'll end the video with that. So thank you guys for watching. I know it's, you know, a lot to take in, but just, you know, you can come back and refresh your memory whenever you're studying a specific subject matter. And as we said, even if it's years from now, if you have a question on a specific topic, let us know. We will try as best as possible to I'll try as best as possible to add different things to the description as the years go by, so that you can get the newest material, because you know that, you know, education and technology always updating, right? So see you guys in the next video. I hope that you guys really enjoyed this. Comment down below if you think, you know, it was educational, and if you think that, you know, what we covered were necessary. So yes, if you will or have been, yes, so true. So thank you for watching, guys. Bye.
Bye.